Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to KSP. Now, we will not be making the space plane as I had intended because I need a few things. I will try and slow the footage down a little bit so you guys can see what it was that I needed. It's basically just the jet engine because the other ones are not as good. So I need to go back to the moon to get some more science and, yeah. So I'm going to make a few changes to my pre-built rocket. And actually, to tell you the truth, the lifter that I used, the subassembly that I used, actually works a lot better than I thought. I really should have put RCS ports and tanks on that thing. Mental note to self: do make sure to do that next time. But yeah, all in all, it was a fairly smooth mission. I was pleasantly surprised. And then terribly, terribly mortified when I screwed up something royal, as you guys will see momentarily. Yeah, I docked with the station and transferred the fuel over and not the RCS. So you guys will see a jump cut from where I reloaded and then reinstalled and sort of went back and yeah, so it turned out to be fairly interesting. Yeah, I totally forgot to put RCS back in the rocket, so I had like no RCS fuel, so the rocket was just kind of drifting. The RCS fuel was actually very, very important because it meant that I was not going to slam into the station when I decided to fire up the engine, and also allowed me to turn. But, you know, minor details. So, yeah. I found out what was wrong, so anyone who's been watching my Portal series may notice that the videos kind of like abruptly stopped. There's a very good reason for that. I would assume that when the game got updated, somehow my save file got corrupted is what it looks like. I've reloaded and gone back and picked up the recording. So hopefully I should be able to get that wrapped up for you guys here pretty soon and get that uploaded. I will be looking into space planes next time. I have been doing some testing with the space planes. I have a design that works, and I will demonstrate for you guys the handful of minor flaws that it has, and it's literally a handful of flaws that this thing has. Most notably, if I try to accelerate in the atmosphere, I'll blow up, and if I try to go straight into space, I won't make it. So it takes a little bit of finagling in order to get this thing into the proper orbit. I might build another one. My only problem with building another one is I need a docking port so I can attach it to the station, and I don't have anything that I can put a docking port on. Or that has because the one I want to use the sealed docking port. So that way I don't have to worry about the drag from the docking port and all that stuff. The current build that I have has the same front end as the rocket. So I was planning on doing something like that where it has the docking port at the front, but on the plane it causes drag, and I'm not 100% certain whether or not it'll actually work the way I want it to. So what I'm gonna do is, I managed to get enough science. Sorry if you guys can hear all the slamming and banging going on. I managed to get enough science to collect the stuff that I needed, and yeah, so we'll just go from there. I might have to go get some more science, but what I'm thinking about doing is, so you see the front of this rocket, I'm thinking about taking something like that, putting it in orbit and just kind of leaving it there, right? It'll be a lot more basic. It won't be nearly as it won't have all the science stuff on it. Is basically how it's going to work, and it'll most likely be probe controlled. But the basic purpose is, when I get into space, dock to the station, refuel the space plane, and then undock it, attach the rocket to the front of it, and then use that rocket to pull the plane into whatever celestial body I'm going to. Leave that probe piece in orbit, leave the tug piece in orbit, and then land with the plane, collect the science, do whatever I need to do, get back up into space, reattach, and fly back. The basic purpose behind that being, of course, it'll help save fuel on the plane, so I don't have to use the plane's engines. Now, the downside, of course, would be that I'm taking a lot more with me than I actually need, so it's a lot more weight and it's a lot more debris, and in all honesty, it's, just something else to go wrong, basically. But I think that's probably the route I'm going to end up going, because, so, for anyone who may not fully understand or may not know why the space plane is so much better than the rocket, it basically boils down to, when you're using a rocket to land on something like the moon, when you go to land on the moon with the rocket, you have to arrest your horizontal and your vertical speed. Your vertical speed, because if you don't arrest that, you're basically going to slam into the ground. Obviously, you don't want to get rid of all of the vertical speed because you need some so you can actually land, but you don't want to be going in at like Mach 2. As for the horizontal speed, you want that to be at 0, or as near to 0 as physically possible. Because what will happen is, and there you see, this is where I realized that I had run out of RCS. So I pulled the tug off and sent the tug out to reattach, because of course the tug has tons and tons of RCS on it, but that's its purpose, is to fly out and recover vehicles that may not have quite made it to their destination. But anyway, you want to arrest all of your horizontal speed, because basically what that means is you're going to be moving across the ground at a very high rate of speed, and if you're moving too quickly, your whole craft will tumble over onto its side, as you guys will see later on in this video. But that wasn't because of the horizontal speed, that was because of the slope of the mountainside that I was on. Even though it basically works out to be roughly about the same. It's basically like landing on the side of a mountain. So the reason the space plane is so much better is because the horizontal speed is less important. So all you have to really worry about is your vertical speed. And as far as the vertical speed, it's still important, but it's not nearly as important to arrest all of it, because you're not going to be going down nearly as quickly as you would with a rocket, because a rocket is basically going to be going straight down, whereas the plane is going to be coming in at an angle. So it reduces the amount of fuel you need to land. It reduces the amount of fuel you need to get back up. And it actually, in essence, gives you more fuel. I mean, it basically just means you're using less fuel to get where you need to go and all that. So this is the reason why, as you can see, I'm trying to attach this thing to the side of the station. And this is the reason why I said I desperately need to put RTS ports on the backside of that rocket. So yeah, that is definitely something that needs to happen, especially if I'm going to reuse this craft again. Now you'll notice that this thing is twisting and tilting, and it's throwing my station all out of whack, right? Yeah, and thus the name, the Stay Steady Station, because like I said, When you're on board the station, when something attaches, those are the words that are going through your mouth. Please, God, stay steady. Oh, yeah. I need a Kerbal attachment system desperately. So there you see it. I accidentally detached and didn't have any RCS. And I was going to reattach. Actually, wait. You know what I think I did? Did I reload? I think I reloaded. I want to say I reloaded because I think I ended up running out of RCS. I mean, this thing is just a monster to control. I mean, like, because of course there's no RCS ports at the back, they're only at the front. So it just kind of pendulums around. Yeah, I did reload. So yeah, like I said, I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to build another section kind of like this one. It'll be a lot less complicated. And hopefully everything will work out, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, I said that's the reason why you would want the space plane over the rocket, because it uses less fuel to land, it uses less fuel to take off. And by using less fuel, that means not only can you reduce the weight of the fuel, but you actually gain more fuel by actually being able to keep the fuel you have on you instead of having to use it to land. So it makes things so much simpler. But of course, you're going to need that extra fuel to get out to the bodies, and that's one of the reasons why I think I want to make like a space tug. What's it called? Basically, it's a long distance tug. There's another name for it. I honestly cannot remember right now. I have not been getting enough sleep lately. I've been waking up like at various times in the middle of the night for some weird reason. For one reason or another, toss and turn. Maybe I need to get a new bed. Which only sucks. Well, no, because yeah, that mattress is actually fairly old. No, it's not. That's fairly new. Yeah, that's my new one. Because I ordered that one off Amazon. So I don't know why my mattress would be... I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I have not been sleeping right lately. So I'm going to have to do something at some point. And of course, you know, I've got games to do, and I've got a book to write, which I've been writing. Yes, I have been writing. It's taking me much longer than I would like it to take, but I have actually been writing it. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the tug sitting on the side there because it's not really important that I move the tug. And whenever I refuel my RCS, I'm going to refuel from the tug, not from the station, because the tug holds so much more RCS that I can fill up multiple tanks simultaneously. So it kind of makes things a little bit simpler. Now, I did sort of screw up here. You'll notice that I'm moving forward past the station, right? Well, if you notice where my maneuver node is, it literally brings me right back past the station again. So had I turned to my maneuver node first, I would have realized that I was going to miss the station. Or I would have, you know, been pointing away from the station anyway, so it wouldn't have made a lick of difference where I moved to. So it kind of worked out in my favor a little bit. But I also get this nice, nifty little shot here of the flyby of the station. And yeah. Don't know if you guys got a chance to see that. Hopefully it pulls that up as one of the images for the display, which I guess, I mean, I could in theory go ahead and take a snapshot of that, but I'm lazy. Sorry, guys. I'm just lazy. So the one thing I will say about this, okay, this ship definitely needs more RCS ports. However, I am very, very happy with the RCS ports. you guys will notice. So watch the fuel is what I'm going to tell you. Normally with KSP, I have no problem cheating with KSP. Like, I don't have a really big issue with it. It's just I would like to try and actually legitimately do this stuff if I can. Yeah, I ended up. Not only did I run out of fuel, I burned the wrong way. I was trying to conserve as much fuel as possible, and what I did wrong was I technically burned in the right direction, so I burned against the orbit. But when I burned was the problem. I burned way too early. I should have waited until I was on like the other side of the planet, or I should have waited till the moon had like orbited so that I was basically facing the backside, because doing it the way I did it basically ended up would have actually legitimately cost me more fuel than what I kind of had. But I'm not joking when I tell you that my RCS ports literally got me into orbit. They did. So, like, I love the monopropellant. I love the RCS right now, because if not for that, I wouldn't have been able to get into orbit, and I wouldn't have been able to make it back. So I have 8 of these things on here, which was enough to get the whole craft. So, like, once it's reattached, the whole thing right back into orbit again. Yeah, I got like 500 science from this. No, I got 400. No, yeah. Because I had 60 starting off, and I needed 460. And I legitimately got exactly 460 science from this, because I ended up with 63 science again by the time everything was all said and done. However, I did realize that I screwed up and probably should have got the nuclear engines, because they're so much more efficient. And if I remember correctly, once the game came out, they changed it so that the nuclear engines will run off anything, because they're nuclear. So, I mean, it's not like it's, it needs to have one. It needs to have both liquid oxidizer and oxygen to run, because, of course, basically it's just, superheating, superheating the molecules. So yeah, basically what you see me doing there is I'm trying to get a straight shot to Kerbin, and that's where I realized where I messed up, is because had I waited till I was on like the dark side, it would have worked, but I didn't. So now I have to go into orbit, then wait until I get onto the dark side. So what you're gonna see is you're gonna physically see the oh, yeah, that's right. I did let the other section drop down. Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah. Because the other section ran out of fuel, it was basically just dead weight. So I let that slam into the planet surface. So, yeah, the craft had enough RCS. So basically what you see me running on right now is just the RCS. I mean, that is... So, like, I shut that off, and I was just like, okay, look, it's monopropellant or nothing. And I can't believe it actually worked. And then, of course, once I got high enough, I was like, okay, how much delta V do I need? And it turned out I had enough to actually get back. I was so excited. I mean, if I didn't have like a video going in the background that like drowns out my voice, or if I actually even had the microphone on, because I usually shut the mic off, because otherwise it catches the sound from the speakers and it reverberates, and it's very annoying. Yeah, I was so excited. If I had it on, I would have like definitely played it for you guys, but unfortunately I didn't. So it's going to take me, I think, 2 or 3 orbits in order to get down far enough to actually land on the planet's surface. Now, I was very, very worried about this, because as you guys can clearly see, it's like 75% water, 25% land. I like landing this thing on land as much as possible. So that's why you see me burning the RCS, burning the fuel, burning the monopropellant, burning the fuel, and all that is because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to convince this thing to hit that one patch of land that you see right there, And I was like, okay, look, this is most likely not going to happen. And, well, you know what? I'm not going to tell you guys what happened. Not this time. I'll actually let the video play out. So, yeah, the mission went excruciatingly well. Surprisingly well. Fantastic, even. I mean, I could plan other missions. But, yeah, I seriously doubt anything is going to go nearly as well as this. And honestly, I think it was collecting the temperature data, because I don't know if I just did it or if I'm going to do it on the next pass. But I collected temperature data while I was basically burning in the atmosphere, and I think that was just enough to put me at what I needed, or, well, a little over, because I had 60, so I mean, I only really needed 400 science. So, but we are completely out of everything, and I figured, you know what, we might as well go inside and see the views from the inside of what they see. So, yeah, I said, I gotta tell you, man, I was pleasantly surprised with how well everything worked out on this mission. I collected the science. I have a space plane built. It is right now a all or nothing space plane. So when it takes off, I have got to hit like the 30-degree mark. Now, once I get up to about 10,000 meters, I need to accelerate, and then just as my round about once my thrust really kind of starts dropping off, then I need to kick on the rocket engine. I need to let the rocket engine and jets work at the same time, and then round about the time the jets start to flame out, go ahead, shut the jets off, and I can make it the rest of the way into space. It only just makes it into space, though. So that's one of the reasons why I say I think I might need to redesign, is because, yeah, that's definitely something that needs to be addressed. Is all of my space planes, with the exception of one, only just barely could make it into space. One, which I wish I still had the old save, was fantastic. It not only did it make it into space, it could get up to 200,000 meters from the planet's surface, like 200,000 meters, and still have enough fuel to make it back to the planet. I mean, it was a fantastic design. It was beautiful. It worked. And yeah. So, but yeah, the reason I couldn't get into space before with the others is because the other engines just did not have the power. They couldn't barely get me up to 10,000 meters, so I had to get the science so I can get the high-speed engines, which is exactly what I'm going to do as soon as this thing comes down into a fiery fireball. And check that out. Like, I was so happy that I made landfall. I was like, oh, that is so perfect. That is so awesome. So here you go. Here's what I was talking about. So with the parachutes, obviously I'm coming down straight, but I'm going to land on the hillside, which is very dangerous and causes this. So that's why you also want to arrest your horizontal speeds, because that will happen too. So that's it, guys. I am going to do some more testing on space planes and come back when I have a functioning, usable design. So I am done for the day. Collect my parts, and to that, guys, I am going to say sayonara.